All right, let us begin. So welcome to the Better Breathers Club of BC. This is a collaboration between Poplar Pulmonary Wellness and the BC Lung Foundation. So we host talks once a month on the second Wednesday of the month at 2 p.m. Pacific. And so here we are today. We're going to be talking about end-of-life care planning. And sorry, if you want to flip the slide. So I am Tina from Poplar Pulmonary Wellness. Also speaking today will be Jenna from Poplar Pulmonary Wellness. And before we get started, we'll do a quick land acknowledgement. So Poplar Pulmonary Wellness is hosting from the unceded ancestral territories of the Coast Salish people, including the territories of the Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh nations. And today I'm coming at you from the Anishinaabe Algonquin territories in Ottawa. And if you care to share which ancestral lands that you are joining us from today, just post it in the chat or feel free to let us know. We're always interested in that. And as we carry on our conversation today, especially with a bit of a heavy topic today, but an important one, we'd like to point out that we like to create a safe space, and it takes all of us to do that. So please feel free to share your thoughts, values, and opinions, and to ask questions without fear of judgment. And information shared here that we provide is for educational purposes only. So it does not replace professional medical advice from your healthcare provider.
All right. So we're talking about how to start an end-of-life care plan. And it's a really big topic, like Tina said. So in terms of trying to hit some key points, what we're going to do is we're going to talk about what encompasses end-of-life care planning. We're going to go through how to get started using the My Voice booklet, and we're going to be putting some links into the chat box. So feel free to click on those links as we present some of the information. But if you're not able to during the presentation, don't worry, we'll give lots of time at the end. And you can open those links for yourself so that you could save whatever you like. We will be providing resources as we move through each of the topics. Before we get started, are there any particular questions you're looking to learn about during today's session? And you're welcome to put it in the chat or just speak up if you like. Just we're open ears today. Yeah, seeing nodding heads. Okay. Feel free to ask questions as we go along. In today's session, we're not going to have time to do a really deep dive into any one of these sections, but let us know what you're interested in, because we can always put focus on certain areas of end-of-life care planning in our future sessions. So let us know what's of interest to you if you feel like you want to do a deeper dive into a certain area. And then before I move on here, maybe with show of hands, has anyone started this process already? Thinking about it or writing things down? No? Okay, you're in the right place. We're gonna let you know how to get started. So let's start with a question. And this question, when I taught pulmonary rehab, my RT preceptor, this was her question, and I thought it was a really good one to open in on this really heavy topic, which is, who here will die one day? You know, we're humans. It's inevitable, and we have some choices. We have a choice and a voice, and I think this is the most important thing that we can convey to you today. That you have choices to make, and really, these choices are a way for you to think of your end of life or to plan for it in a way that is purposeful to you, that you could do it in a time, maybe now when things are calm and not in crisis. And when you're able to fully communicate your wishes to your loved ones, especially in those instances where you may not be able to communicate yourself. Okay, so this is why we're encouraging you to think about this and really thinking about it early. And I welcome you to have a pen and paper handy just to jot down some ideas as we go through to. Oh, you're ready. I love it. Perfect. So in this pie chart, this big piece of pie here, don't worry about the percentages. Those are not really important. But I really just wanted to show you that end of life care planning is really an umbrella term for different components to this pie. End of life care planning consists of compassionate and supportive care at different stages of a terminal illness. And living with, as we just discussed in the last slide, we're all going to die at some time. And of course, living with chronic lung condition, this puts all of this sort of front of mind at some point. And the care that's provided during this time is care for the person with the lived condition, but it's also care for their family as well. And it takes into account a lot of different aspects of care. So, not just the physical care, but the psychological care, the cultural care, the spiritual needs. It's very holistic. I've kind of outlined these different pieces of the pie, and I put 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Not that these have to occur in this order necessarily, but definitely if you can achieve number 1, which is to write out and communicate with your loved ones your values, wishes, and beliefs, and we're going to explore that in a little bit. That's going to be able to help guide you through the other pieces of pie. Okay, so number 1 is probably the most important one you could do. And so let's talk about that one in just a bit. We're also going to talk about we're going to talk about palliative care. We're going to talk about legal matters as it pertains to end of life care. We're going to talk about advanced directives, healthcare, which is really healthcare decision making, things you want or don't want. And then end of life care. So right at the end, what does that kind of care look like? So let's start with values, wishes, and beliefs. And I'm actually going to stop my screen share just for a moment. And Tina, if you could put the link for the My Voice workbook into the chat box. So I'm just showing you my copy. So this workbook from the BC Ministry of Health is an excellent place to start. And it is just that, it's a workbook to guide you through some of these end of life care decisions. And on page 5, I believe, it guides us through the first step, which is yeah, page 5, which is working through some of our values, beliefs, and wishes. It's got some leading questions, and we're actually going to do that together near the end of the presentation. So again, that pen and paper is handy as you kind of think through some of these things. But I just wanted to physically show you what this physically, virtually, show you what this book looks like. And Tina's put the link into the chat box there. This link will give you a PDF copy of the workbook. And then there is a way that you might be able to request a book copy as well through that link, I believe. All right, I'm going to reshare the presentation here. Any questions with that so far?
We're doing good. Your pace is good, Jenna. It's easy enough to
Okay.
follow. And I'll just point out too, so if you're watching this online, we'll put the links in the comments of the video. So if you click more, you'll be able to see them below. But for those of you who are here, if you click on the link in the chat, then keep those tabs open and you'll have them for later. We can also post all of these links in our Poplar community for you, so that you can go back and find them at some point too.
Perfect. So I wanted to give an example of values, wishes, and beliefs. And I give the example of my husband and I. Because writing down the things that are important to you or what you would want at the end of life, it helps to frame your decision making. So we don't know how we're each going to die. We don't know what our journey looks like. We don't really need to make decisions based on, well, if this happens, I'll do this, but if this happens, I'll do this. It's really confusing, and we don't know what the situation is going to be like exactly. For me, one wish that I have or something that I value is my ability to be able to communicate with my loved ones. That's really, really important to me. So I've had the discussion with my husband that, look, if I'm in a healthcare situation where for the long term I can't communicate with you and my daughter, you know, I would prefer um, to have some end of life care. So being able to communicate with you is really, really important. And he can take that and move through healthcare decisions, knowing that in different situations. My husband, on the other hand, is quite opposite. He wants to live no matter what. So if he's a vegetable and he doesn't know who I am or he can't communicate, he wants to experience that for what that is. And he's okay with that. And so he needed to communicate that to me because we actually have quite different thoughts on it. And so even just the two of us knowing that about each other helps us to move forward with care decisions, no matter what the exact situation is. So that's one example of how you can use a value, wish, and belief. And really important to write them down. Write them down because you could talk about it, but then when it comes time, it's good to be able to, in that crisis moment, to have it written down and fall back on.
Yeah, it's such a good point, Jenna. I'll just say too, like it's um when we are going through some of these, health crises, which, we hope we don't end up that way, but sometimes it happens. And it really can ease the mind of your decision makers, of your family, who are responsible for making the decisions at that point in time. So it does really ease their worries, lower their anxiety, knowing that you've had these conversations and they know what you want. And they just have to communicate that to the physicians. It's not about, like Jenna said, about deciding every possible situation you could end up with. Just focus on what's important to you. And it's so important for your family to hear you say that.
So one word that gets thrown around when we start to think about end of life care planning is palliative care. And that term palliative care, what it really means is care at any age. It can even be early on in your lung disease trajectory. And it's a really holistic approach to care for any person with a serious illness, as I mentioned, at any age and in any setting. And palliative care encompasses care for the caregiver too. So, not just the person with the lived condition. It offers grief support and it is very supportive care. So you could be, for example, really early on in your chronic lung condition, be receiving medical care and also be receiving a palliative care or a palliative care approach, sometimes what we call it. And Some examples of how these two streams can sort of intertwine. The palliative care team or doctor, they're really the experts when it comes to pain control or even shortness of breath, especially shortness of breath at end of life, where our treatment options are maybe steering away from some traditional things like inhalers, and oxygen, and looking at things like maybe opiates to kind of help shortness of breath. And even though there's a lot of education happening with Ts and nurses and doctors in this palliative care approach, not everyone is there yet. And so some specialized care from a palliative care doctor or team might be really helpful and a really important piece of your pie as you put together your end of life care plan. Palliative care can work to help ease anxiety and depression as well. And so you can seek this care and self-refer yourself through your local health authority. Um, so for me, as an example, I'm in Vancouver Coastal Health. If I go to vch.ca and I go just to their search screen and I type in palliative care, a central intake line comes up. And I do want to stop my screen share and show you this because I think this is really important to find when you need it. So for example, some of you have mentioned you're on the island. So similarly, you can go to Vancouver Island Health, go to their main page where you could search services and type in palliative care. And so here it is for Vancouver Coastal Health. Can you see that okay? I just typed in the search palliative care, and it's often under home and community care. So it's usually might not be under acute care. It's usually under a home or community care. And you could see here, whoops, moved you all to the bottom, that there's a central intake line for home and community care, but also for the palliative and hospice service. And you can call this number and self-refer yourself. So one example, if you are feeling like you're approaching a more end of life stage to your chronic lung condition and you feel like you need extra support, not just the medical care you're receiving now, maybe there's pain, maybe there's shortness of breath that's quite burdensome, and maybe you just need a different approach, then you can call this central intake line. You can also talk to your physicians, your family doctors. They could refer you to these services as well. But I know sometimes there's a gap there where maybe your healthcare professionals might not know about these services, and you might want to seek it out on your own. So I just really wanted to highlight central intake for palliative services. All right. Any questions with that piece? Okay. Apologies as I navigate back to the presentation here.
Take your time.
So oh, go ahead.
Do you remember when they told us computers were going to make our lives easier?
Is this now?
All right.
Promises, promises.
Promises, promises. All right. So we're back. Can you see that all right? My last point at the bottom, I just wanted to make a distinction that the palliative care services that I just showed you, that central intake that might connect you to a palliative care doctor or a palliative care team. You might see that team in hospital, you might see that team at home, is different from palliative care benefits. So palliative care benefits covers palliative care medications, especially medications if they give the example when you look it up, not covered by long-term care. So let's just say if you're under long-term care, they're not covered under that. But it would cover those medications, it would cover medical supplies, it would cover equipment. And this is if you have a life expectancy close to 6 months or so. Sometimes you get referred to the palliative care benefit program earlier than that, but it's something your physician or your nurse practitioner will have to apply for you on your behalf. And it is a pharmacare plan, so MSP Plan P for palliative. And so it will get you extra coverage for these costs. So just know that that's available to you when death is looking like maybe 6 months or so, and your physician has to apply for it for you on your behalf.
Yeah, and it can include some, sort of home supports, medications, maybe home visits. Yeah.
Okay. So, oh, and I just remembered I forgot to add something on this slide. There are some legal matters, of course, when it comes to end of life care planning. And maybe this is where your mind kind of goes when you kind of think about it, when you think about the papers and the legal stuff to take care of. It's a bit of a chore. But again, something that you can do really early on when you have time, when things are calm, when you can take your time to kind of take this piece of the pie and cut it into small chunks and do a little bit at a time. And that way it won't seem so overwhelming. So some of the legal matters are your will or an e-will even. This determines how your estate will be divided after you die. So this is often referred to as estate planning. So things that happen after you pass away. You don't need a lawyer to get a will done. You do need witnesses though. And I think Tina just got one done for her in-laws and you needed 2 witnesses, was that right?
Yeah, 2 witnesses. And the tricky part is they can't be people who are standing to benefit from the things you're leaving people with in your will. So generally it can't be your immediate family. So yeah, you need to find someone outside of your inner circle, shall we say. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the online ones are pretty good. Yeah.
Okay. You don't have to, but you can register a will. And Tina, if you wouldn't mind putting in the NIDUS.ca. So NIDUS, NIDUS.ca, is a not-for-profit agency based out of Vancouver, I believe. And it is an excellent resource for everything we're talking about today, actually. Their specialty is in, I think, more of the legal side, the legal documents, but they have a lot of good information just for the lay person who's trying to figure this out. Really easy to read, really clear, and they go through each of these documents, what it's for, do you need a lawyer or not? Is it legal or not? So a really great resource for these things, nidus.ca. So other than a will, you will need an enduring power of attorney. So an EPOA, an enduring power of attorney. And we recommend an enduring power of attorney instead of just a power of attorney, because this is the person you designate to make financial and legal decisions while you're alive. So this is more of a personal planning document. So they're making these decisions while you're alive. if you only have a power of attorney, they're only going to make those decisions while you have your mental capacity with you. Whereas an enduring power of attorney is picking someone to make these decisions, even if you lose your mental capacity due to illness, dementia, things like that. You do need a lawyer usually to designate an enduring power of attorney. Okay. And then the third legal document I wanted to go through is the representation agreement. And there is a representation agreement in the My Voice booklet. So if you work through that booklet, you can work through filling out a representation agreement. And what it is a legal agreement to designate someone to make life and death decisions that are not already in your advance directives. So I'm going to be talking about advance directives on the next slide, but advance directives, the long and short of it, are decisions you need to make to prolong life. Do you want CPR? Do you want breathing tubes? That kind of thing. So a representation agreement is picking someone to make those choices if you can't make them for yourself, or if you haven't designated them already in your advance directives. You need 2 witnesses to sign off on the agreement. And in the workbook, there are 2 agreements. There's a section 7 and a section 9. We recommend that you fill out the section 9. That's the one that you want, section 9. Okay. If you don't have an advance directive, and if you don't pick your person in a representation agreement, if you're in a life or death situation at a hospital, for example, then there are laws in place that designate an order of people that will make decisions for you. And these are called temporary substitute decision makers. So, the physician might go to your spouse first, then they might go to your children, your parents, your siblings, your grandparents, your grandchildren. And it's listed in the My Voice booklet what that order is. So if it's actually really important to you that someone that is out of order in that list make those decisions, for example, if you want a close friend to make that decision, life or death decisions for you, you have to fill out a representation agreement. Okay, have it documented and keep all of these documents together in one place, ideally. Any questions with these legal papers? Do some of you have these done already? Seeing some nodding heads. Okay. And seeing nodding heads in both directions, no's and yeses. Okay. All right. So advanced directives. So this is what I alluded to. Again, more information can be found in the My Voice booklet. To list these decisions, these life or death decisions, they must be made when you're mentally sound. And I've listed some of the life or death procedures, things like cardiopulmonary resuscitations, compressions to keep the heart going, breathing tubes with or without a breathing machine, a ventilator, dialysis or blood transfusion, feeding tubes, IVs, for example, maybe to get IV antibiotics, surgery. So again, we don't know what the situation is going to be like, and we don't really have to make those decisions based on if this happens, I want this. We can use your values, beliefs, and wishes to make these decisions. And you can write down what you want your advance directives to be. For example, if you're kind of moving along and sort of, little medical treatment and more palliative care, supportive comfort care. But let's say you get an infection, something maybe that could be reversible, and you decide, you know what, I'll take IV antibiotics. I think I think I'll get through this. That's a choice you have, even though you're on a different path that's not quite as medicalized, for lack of a better term. Surgery even, right? Maybe there's something they can just do a snip and a tuck and it's done, right? And you might decide, okay, I'll do that. You still have these choices, 100%. And so your values, beliefs, and wishes can help direct this. But if you know for sure you don't want certain things, write it down in your advance directive. And maybe I'll throw to Tina to see if there's anything else to add here in terms of that.
Yeah, no, this is a good one. This is a hot topic, and it can be challenging. As healthcare workers, we see combinations of things that people are okay with or not okay with that maybe don't make sense together or in that person's situation. So I would say just focus on, if there are certain things you for sure would go for, or certain things that you for sure would not go for, then mark those things down. But don't feel you have to go through each one and understand what that means and find out situations where you might need that. You can have conversations with the physicians and your care team at the time. So use this to convey main wishes or things you feel more or less strongly about. And then as time goes on, if you're very clear with expressing your values, wishes, and beliefs, this lets your decision makers navigate things a little more easily in the moment, because it is hard to come up with all of the things that you may or may not want. And you might be wondering, why are we even saying, like, why wouldn't you want those things? That's something that comes up, like, why wouldn't I want surgery, for example? And a lot of these interventions, medical interventions, can be in the short term painful or a bit of suffering. There's always potential for consequences that nobody wants. So some things, they come with bigger risk or lower risk, more pain, less pain, for these type of interventions. And if there's not hope for, a more positive outcome and much more wellness down the road, then it wouldn't make sense to do those things if you're not looking to, maybe you're not in a position where you're going to be leaving the hospital or something. So it's okay not to feel pressured to check off each of these items. If you're not sure what they are, it's okay. But if you do know what some of these things are, and if you feel strongly one way or the other, it's an opportunity to specify that. And we know that people's conditions change and that they're, what they might want to do changes. So I would say go with, what's most important or what you feel most strongly about, and don't stress too much about all of the things.
Thanks, Tina. So any questions here about advanced directives? We're all right. Okay. Okay, so end of life care. So when we're coming to the end now, and I just wanted to look this up a bit too, for my knowledge as well. One thing that doesn't always get discussed is housing and your living situations and how that changes as you get a little bit older and what your options are. And so, Tina, if you could put in the housing reference into the chat. So this is information from the BC Ministry of Health under home and community care. And I've listed some of the housing options here, and coming towards more the end of life, some things maybe you might want to plan for. So in terms of housing, there's assisted living, where you've kind of got your own place, but you're getting some support for personal care. They usually have a nurse or even potentially a doctor on site. You might have your own kitchen, but you also have option to get your meals made for you, things like that. So assisted living might be options. Group or family care homes are homes, independent homes, but if you need specialized care, you might have access to it. And the website that Tina put in will give you some more information on what that criteria looks like. Sometimes you might need a short stay. So either a convalescent stay or a hospice or even respite care if you're the caregiver. And again, to get some of this covered, go to this website to look to see what the criteria is. But you could be eligible for this. And then there's long-term care, which is more full-time kind of medical management care in-house at a long-term care facility. So you might just want to research this a little bit, kind of look into what your options are, what you're okay with, what you're not okay. Maybe source places near where you live or where you want to be. So this could be helpful in terms of future planning. If you have a terminal illness and you can choose to have an expected or planned death at home. And again, this is in the very terminal stages, but there is paperwork to be filled out for this. And this is different from MAID. So an expected or planned death at home is a natural death at home, if that's where you choose that you want to pass away. You also have the option for medical assistance in dying, where if you have a terminal condition, you can choose to have a nurse or doctor administer medications that will help you to pass away. And this planning needs to happen while you have all your capacities with you. So if this is something you're interested in, Tina, if you could put the MAID link into the chat box. The link Tina's putting in will have the criteria to get the paperwork started. You can get this process started because there are a couple stages to it. If you're interested in it, you do have to access a physician, I believe, who's not your regular physician to kind of sign off on it. So it's a little, there's a couple little steps to it. So again, yeah.
So it's not immediate.
Yeah. So any questions in terms of end of life care, housing, how or where you might choose to pass away? We're giving you lots of things to look into.
Yeah. A point too, if in terms of the housing options too, if you do prefer to stay at home and receive care at home, there is in BC anyway, there's a bit of a movement towards taking care of people at home. So there's an initiative called Hospital at Home that some of the health authorities are starting up. So if you go to the hospital, like you go to emergency, or are admitted, they may choose to transfer your care to your home and send nurses and providers to do some of your care at home. So if you feel you might not be well looked after at home, you probably would be. So there's a lot of therapies that they can provide at home these days, if that's your preference.
Thanks, Tina. One aspect I forgot to put, I think I wanted to put it in the legal slide. But of course, one other thing to kind of think about in your planning is is for after you pass away, your burial or cremation, or what that kind of looks like for you, what your wishes are there.
Good point. That can be quite a workload for people. So it is a nice gift you can leave your family to make arrangements if you're able to.
Yeah. So I thought I'd take a moment here, and as things are percolating, because we just gave you a whole bunch of stuff to think about. Some things maybe you've heard of, some things very new. So we just wanted to just take a moment and just see if anyone had questions. And then we can kind of go through a bit of the values, wishes, and beliefs. You could have an opportunity to write some things down.
So I have a question just about all the resources and the links that have gone into the chat. Will you send us, like, how do you know where to send the recording, or is it always on your website? Like that piece I'm kind of missing.
Sure. Yep. So we do share it through the Poplar community. And I know you found us through BC Lung. So there's a little bit of a delay as it comes out on the Poplar Pulmonary Wellness YouTube channel. And then it will be also on the BC Lung website. But you can also find us in the Poplar community. And I'm just going to put a link here for you in the
Because I
chat.
was going to save the chat, it won't seem to let me do that.
Oh yeah, no, you have
Probably
to.
have it turned off somehow. I don't
Yeah,
know.
usually I recommend people to click the links. Just click it and open it into a browser window, and you'll have it there for you when the Zoom ends. But
Yes, I have done that, but I thought I'm just going to make a Word document with all these links, but then it's like it won't copy for me.
yeah, so we do have
Oh,
some
okay.
resources. If you want to stay on after this,
Sure.
we grab your email address, we can just email it right to you.
Yeah, that's great.
Okay.
Thank you.
Perfect. Good question. This talk, above all the other talks we've done, I think has the most amount of resources too.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks to Jenna for finding all of these. Yeah, awesome.
All right. Great question. Okay, so we've got about 10 minutes. So for all of us on the call, and for those who might be watching the recording, feel free to take out a pen and paper. And the My Voice booklet on page 5 leads us through an exercise that helps us to think about these values, wishes, and beliefs we've been talking about. And the first question it poses to us is to name or list things that make your life meaningful. So, name or list a couple things that make your life meaningful. So, I invite you to do that now.
Jim's resting, as you may see.
That's
So
yeah,
we probably won't do the activity right now as he is resting.
fair, fair.
He can dream about things that make his life meaningful.
Yeah.
So in my example with my husband, for example, that ability for me to communicate, to talk to my loved ones or have that connection, that's very meaningful for me. Music is also very meaningful to me. Tina, what would you say?
Yeah, one thing I think about that often does kind of get taken away closer to end of life is being active. It's something that's really important to me and my mental well-being. So that would be a consideration for me, I think, in terms of things that I would want. And being outside, for me, those two things go hand in hand. So, if I think about Yeah, there are ways to be outside even if we're unwell, and I would encourage my family to seek that out for me. Yeah.
And if anyone else wants to share, feel free. Otherwise, you could just write it down for yourself.
There's been some big changes in my life since I got off the road. One of them is, of course, my grandkids. Now that I have time to spend with them, so I've quit smoking, so I'll have more time to spend with them.
Time and money and health.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Amazing.
Yeah, connections, like, and that's one thing too. I find when people first get sick, they get all the visitors right away, and then it kind of tapers off as time goes on. And it can be a nice reminder to family to, put the word out, hey, they're still in the hospital and would still love a visit, even though it's been a couple of weeks or something.
A visit, heck, smuggle me out of the hospital, take me fishing.
Yeah. There you go. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. The next question is, when I think of what my death could be like, I take comfort in. When I think of what my death could be like, I take comfort in.
Yeah, I would complete that with something like knowing that I won't be in pain, or knowing that my family will be with me.
Yeah.
And it might be something a little more religious for other people as well. It might be gotta incorporate that stuff too.
Yeah. For me, I just imagine it, I would like it to be, or I would take comfort in it being very calm. Very calm.
Yeah.
And then maybe on the flip side of that, so the third question they pose in the My Voice booklet is, when I think of dying, I worry that. When I think of dying, I worry that. And for me, I think it's that I worry that it would be chaotic or painful, or yeah, those types of things.
Yeah, sometimes it's related to things that are left incomplete or unachieved.
And then the last question they pose is, when I'm nearing the end of life, I want. When I'm nearing the end of life, I want. And we've heard some things already, like maybe family at your side.
Yeah, it
Maybe
might not
music.
be where you are, Yeah.
All right. Well, we thank you for participating in these questions. For those that have been to our sessions before, Better Breathers Club, this was a more somber one for sure, but we hope we've given you some things to think about. We usually do like to end our sessions with a game or some sort of wrap up fun activity. And so we thought, yeah, of course we would do this for this session
We're
too.
gonna do it anyway. Let's end on a positive note, shall we?
That's right. So we're gonna play a little game. Now I don't know if I'm gonna be able to get this going. Can you hear that?
No.
No.
Oh, we gotta share the sound.
Yeah, you
I
gotta
gotta share
share.
the sound. I might have to
I
stop.
think it's a stop.
Okay. Just as we have about a couple minutes remaining, imagine the song's going Dun, 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 dun.
Hear it in your heads, in your mind, your mind's ears.
Theme song for Family Feud. But
Oh,
really, we've got a couple rounds of some fun multiple choice questions for you. Just some take home points from the things we've talked about today. Round 1. When is a good time to start talking about end of life care with your family?
All of the above.
All of the above? Yeah.
Above.
Before the health crisis happens, sooner rather than later, while you're healthy enough to share your wishes. 100%. Sharing my values, wishes, and beliefs with family is a good way to start end of life care planning. True or false?
That's true.
It's true.
true.
You got it. And if nothing else happens from this session today, I think, again, this is the piece to pull away from this session. This is the most important part. Write it down, communicate it, keep it somewhere together with all of your papers. It will help your family when the time comes.
You're here.
Planning for end-of-life care can ease the burden of decision-making and reduce stress for my family.
Much.
Sure does.
Sure does.
Yeah.
It's
Tina mentioned it's a gift. Yeah. To
yeah,
ourselves as
seems
well
so
as our
simple in the
families.
moment, but in, you know, that time of crisis, it's so helpful. Yeah.
And last question, a bit of a cheeky one. Doing end of life care planning is just as scary as. I don't want to know what that mean looking teddy bear looks like. A turtle stuck on its back, eating the last piece of chocolate cake before your partner comes home. Oh my goodness, heaven forbid.
Stressful. And not doing end of life care
Not
planning.
doing end of care planning.
More stressful than doing it. So just bite the bullet and do it.
So thank you for joining us today. If you're looking for more, so Tina and I are respiratory therapists, certified respiratory educators. We do offer a free 15-minute welcome session in the Poplar Clinic if you have an issue you need to explore, if you need help working alongside your medical care. We do have a clinic for one-to-one personalized care online. We also have our fitness club group exercise classes that you can do from the comfort of your own home. We have classes 5 days a week, low intensity or higher intensity, and you get to meet with a respiratory therapist each class, and we do it as a group, so you get lots of support. So feel free to visit our website if you need any help with your current care, respiratory care. Our next Better Readers Club, mark your calendars, is going to be June 11th at 2 p.m. This is our last meeting before our summer break. We're just finalizing what our topic's going to be, so we'll let you all know what that is and give you lots of notice so that you can mark your calendars. We take a break for July and August, and then we hope to restart again in September.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us. If you'd like to stay on for a moment, we'll stop.
And then we'd also like to just do another quick thank you to BC Lung Foundation for funding this club. So thank you so much, BC Lung.
Thanks, BC Lung.